So you want to be a cool kid and tint your windshield. Now I'm not talking about a little sun strip up top, I'm talking about the whole darn thing. In this video I'm going to talk about 4 different things. I'm going to talk about what it's like from the outside, what it's like from the inside, what type of tint to get, and its illegalness. I'm also going to be referring to 5 different percents, 5, 20, 35, 50, and 70. I use a company called GeoShield for all my tint, great company, great tint. And not all companies offer this exact percentages, but you can kind of compare other companies to this. This is a good reference point. My name's Max. I started a business called Mad Max Customs where I tint windows. I taught myself everything I know, and now I'm trying to share it with you. So I've been tinting windows for about 4 years, and I've been tinting windshields for about 2, 3 before I waited a while before I got really good at them to do it for other people. And nowadays they're becoming increasingly popular, so I do them pretty often. And in my ventures into window tinting or tinting windshields, I have done multiple tries on all of my rigs, and I've played with all the percents on all my rigs. So I have a really good opinion of what they're like because I've had them on all my rigs. And I did that so A, I wanted to try them out, and B, when people ask me what they should get, I can give a really good opinion of what they should get because I've had them on my rigs. All right, first off, let's talk from the outside. So one thing that I've noticed that is not talked about very much in the window tinting world is what is behind tint. How tint looks and how dark it looks is highly dependent on what is behind it. And here's an example of this. So I'm gonna show you an image in a second here of a 50% windshield on a just like early 2000s Silverado. And this truck has factory 20 on the rear 3 windows, and the back window, very back, big window, rear 2 sides, factory fronts, no tint. And on the front, just 50%. And this is what it looks like. And in this next image, I'm gonna show you the same truck with 5% layered on all the sides and same 50% windshield, and it looks like this. Now you'll notice the 50% with factory tint looks pretty light. It's almost, you can barely even see it. And with the 5% on the sides, it looks very dark. So tint is highly dependent on what is behind it and how dark you want it to look. So for instance, when you drop into these lower percents, it kind of doesn't matter as much, but it still matters, trust me. 5%, I'm not even gonna talk much about 5% because if you put 5% on your windshield, like, I don't even know what you're doing. So 20, even if you have a 20% windshield and you have no tint on the rest of the car, you're gonna see right through it, no problem. If you have 20% with full 5, that thing's gonna look completely murdered. When you get into 35, it's still gonna look dark, but also if you have full 5 on the back, you're still gonna have that. If you have a full 5 truck and 35 windshield, you're still gonna get that black look. Right when you get to the 50 mark on the outside is when you start to notice it's not as black. And if you're you're a little worried about getting in trouble for it, blah, 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 50% is really where you can roll your front windows down and let some light in, and your windshield almost doesn't look that tinted. When you get up to 70, it's the same thing, it's even better. You really don't notice it, you just get the benefits of the heat rejection if you use ceramic on the 70%. So as a general consensus from the outside, if you're looking for that black looking windshield and you want it to look dark, 35% I've noticed is right about the point when it looks dark and it looks tinted. So anything beyond that, 50 kind of looks tinted, you can kind of tell. 70, you really can't tell. And 20, you're gonna know it's tinted. But 35 I've noticed is about that mark where it looks black. So if you're looking for that, get 35. So to sum up from the outside, basically, you really need to think about what is behind it. And I can't tell you exactly what it's gonna look like because actually every single car is different. I've noticed that like shorter cars and cars that have smaller windows, you can put lighter tint and it looks darker, and there's a bunch of variables that go into it, but just consider what is behind it and what you want on your windshield because that will very much affect how it looks from the outside. It doesn't affect how it looks from the inside, but from the outside, it's very dependent on what is behind it and what the rest of the car has on it. So the next thing is from the inside. Now this is something that you're probably worried about if you're looking at getting your windshield tinted because you're like, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to see, what am I gonna do? I can tell you right now, you're probably gonna be fine, depending on what you get. So I'm gonna talk 2 parts to this, daytime and nighttime. So it kind of depends on what truck it is and how you drive it. If you drive it only during the day, I guess technically you could get away with the 5% windshield. I've seen guys do it. I do not recommend it to anyone. That's stupid dark. So during the nighttime, I've noticed, obviously I'm gonna say this, if you have good headlights on all these, that's a huge plus. But once you get to 35, that's when I notice it actually kind of affects you at night. I mean, if you have good headlights, it helps, but you'll still sometimes notice that it's, sometimes you have to do a little, wait, yeah. You get kind of that with 35. Once you hit the 50 mark, I've noticed you really don't notice it at night. And honestly, one thing that's kind of cool that nobody really talks about with window tint or windshield tint at night is that, you know, when cars come at you and you get that glare of their headlights coming at you, when you have a little windshield tint, it actually cuts down on that a lot, and I've had a lot of people comment to me that that helps a lot, and I noticed it too. It's actually really nice. And if you're looking for the best of both worlds, 50s are what you want to go with, because it takes that little glare off, and even during the day, so I'll talk about during the day now. During the day, the 50 takes the little glare off, but you still kind of have to wear sunglasses. Once you hit 35, you really don't even have to wear sunglasses. I mean, you can, but if you do, it's pretty dark. So that's kind of the split difference between the two. One more thing I wanted to add about from the inside, this is again something that no one really talks about that I've noticed. When you have really dark tint on the sides, so let's say you have a truck, like a 1500 Chevy, if you have full 5% on all the sides and nothing on the windshield, what happens is when say it's super sunny out, this is only for during the day, but let's say it's super sunny out, the rest of your whole truck is super dark, and then you have this part of your windshield that is just beaming with light. And have you ever noticed when you have a phone camera and you go look at the sun, or you look at something bright and something dark, it adjusts? Your eyes do the same thing, you just don't notice it. So I actually think if you're gonna go full 5 on your truck, or 5/20 in the back and 5 on the front too, I actually recommend getting your windshield tinted because it cuts down on that. And I've noticed it, this is weird, but it actually makes, when you have your windshield tinted and you have full 5, it actually makes your 5% look a little lighter. And that's because your eyes adjust. And when you have full 5% and that beam coming through the front, your eyes are like constantly switching back and forth, and your eyes are so used to this bright windshield you're looking through, and then you switch over to the 5 and it looks super dark when you look out of it. So I actually recommend getting at least maybe like a 50 when you do full 5, because like I said, it makes your eyes adjust better, and that's just what I've noticed. All right, number 3, let's talk about what type of tint. And by this, I'm referring to ceramic, carbon, normal dyed film, blah, blah, blah. I'm just gonna talk about normal dyed film and ceramic because that's mainly what I do, and those are 2 of the most common. Now, if you don't know what that is, you'll see on the internet sometimes, some guys are like, oh, I have ceramic tint, it's easier to see out of. Well, it's not, it's actually the same thing. And it's not the same thing, but basically what ceramic is, ceramic compared to normal tint, ceramic helps block heat. That is the key of ceramic, it helps block heat. So, when you tint your windshield, usually the biggest thing is price. There's a big price difference, and ceramic costs more. For me, I usually charge about $150 for a normal windshield and $200 for ceramic. And that's because the film costs a lot more for me, and that's a pretty common price throughout the industry, blah, blah, blah. So what should you get? Now, my opinion is, and I kind of sell this to people, but not in a bad way, just because I think this is the way you should do it, is if you're going to spend $150 on the windshield, why not spend $200 and get something that blocks a little more heat? Because the windshield is the biggest part of the biggest window in your car. If one thing is going to let in a lot of heat and solar, it's your windshield. And all my tints block out all the 99% of UV rays, but they do not, or the ceramic does a lot better job of blocking out heat. So in my opinion, if you're going to spend the money on a windshield, get ceramic, pay a little more, and get the benefits from it. And even on a hot day, it'll keep your dash cooler, it'll keep everything cooler. And commonly what I do is like normal 5 on the sides, which is just normal dyed film. Because once you get into the darker percents, like 5, you really don't notice a crazy difference in percent because it already blocks so much. But when you get into these lighter percents, like 70 especially and 50, the ceramic really shines because even though it's a light percent, it's still doing a really good job of blocking out all that heat. So if you're debating between what you should get, like I said, if you're in the 35, 50, 70 range, ceramic's worth it on your windshield. 5 and 20, I mean, that's up to you. Last thing I'm gonna talk about is illegalness. Now, depending on what state you're in, your windshield tint is probably illegal, so I don't recommend tinting your windshield to anyone, despite that I may do it sometimes. And it's becoming increasingly popular. There's a lot of people that want it nowadays, and it's an awesome thing to have in your rig. It's not only does it look better, it functions awesome. If you get the red percent, obviously it's gonna help you, it makes it nicer to drive your car. And that's kind of what window tint is about. So, in my opinion, you can go to 50%, like 50 and 70, you're really not, no one's gonna bug you, I don't think, especially because if you roll down your front 2 windows and you let some light in, you really don't notice 50 or 70 that much. And like I said, this is highly dependent on the light that's gets inside the vehicle. That kind of relates to what it's like from the inside. So what I would say, obviously 70 is gonna be your best bet for not getting pulled over or anything. Once you hit 35, like I said, that's where it looks black, and that's where your chances are probably gonna spike for getting pulled over. 50 isn't as bad, but it's still tinted. And if you have, like I showed that video, if you have 50 with full 5, it looks pretty dark, but it's not crazy bad. So right about the 35 mark and below is where you're pretty light. You definitely increase your chances of getting pulled over. All right, that's all I got. I hope this video helps. These are a lot of things that I feel aren't talked about with when you get your windshield tinted, and there's some of the things that I've noticed. If you have any other questions, please comment them below, and like and subscribe to see more.